Hello, I'm Dr. Deborah Russell, the Director of Education with GeoVisions. With me today is Lee Medvedoff, the Co-Director of Special Education for Jefferson Union High School District. Thanks for joining me, Lee.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
And they are using interns and trainees are hosting interns and trainees in their district as in special education positions as paraprofessionals. So why did you decide, Lee, to use these international exchange interns and trainees in these paraprofessional positions?
Sure. Well, so originally our HR department brought GeoVisions to our attention, myself and my co-director. And at the time, we were having difficulty filling our special education paraprofessional positions with district hires. And we were frequently needing to contract with outside agencies. So if you kind of work in district management, you understand that, in addition to not always being reliable in terms of, sticking with the district long term, these agency contracts can be very expensive. And we do need to be mindful of our district budget. So we wanted to hire more district hires. And one way to do that, we discovered, could be through partnering with GeoVisions. We also thought that it would, be a way for us to bring value to our district, additional value by, doing some sort of cultural exchange, and it definitely has been beneficial.
Do you find that the interns and trainees are being integrated into their schools and district? How are you helping with this?
For the most part, I would say yes. We've just wrapped up our first year. So, looking at this year, I think it's been a success. I think we want to continue working with GeoVision. So that speaks highly of the program. And several of our participants have chosen to extend their time an additional 6 months, which I think speaks to their experience and that they feel, that they're gaining something from the experience and, are comfortable continuing and want to continue with our district. At the start of the year, and I think that you joined us, Deborah, we had our annual welcome back for all staff. We had all paraprofessionals join my co-director and I for a training, and then we had a breakout session for just our GeoVision paraprofessionals. And we just felt that it would be helpful to build community and also to talk about and answer questions about the district culture and norms in our district. And it was really great. They were talking about where they're staying. They were exchanging phone numbers and sort of building community first within the cohort of folks who were participating in the same program, but from different countries. But they did have that common thread that they were all brand new to our district. And, that I think really helped us start off on the right foot.
And as you said, I was there, and I thought you did a fabulous job of giving them just that piece without overwhelming them, so that they had the basic knowledge to navigate through things and to know where to go and what to do when they got there. So we really appreciate you going that extra mile with these interns and trainees to integrate them into the district and into U.S. culture. You mentioned benefits in terms of budgeting and also in terms of bringing culture to your campuses. But did you find other benefits of having these interns and trainees, these international interns and trainees, over the usual hires that you make for these positions?
Yes, definitely. And we still really value our district paraprofessionals who are not hired through GeoVisions, and we continue to seek to hire locally. In California and in the Bay Area, it does continue to be difficult to, become fully staffed,
Right.
when hiring locally. Because the issue is that there are not always as many candidates as there are positions. So again, one of the major benefits has been able to be fully staffed. And then on top of that, many of the interns and trainees from GeoVisions are seeking to become or already are teachers in their home countries, and they often specialize in particular subjects and bring a strong understanding of how students learn. So, that's been very helpful, sort of the academic skills that they bring. And then, many of them are just very excited to be here in the US for a year. They bring a very positive, outgoing attitude, and that can be very infectious for other staff and students. And so, we really appreciate that aspect as well.
I know we always talk about them bringing their culture from their home country, but we don't really talk that much about positivity they bring to the campus culture. So I'm glad that you brought that up. How do you think that these interns and trainees have impacted the students in your special education classrooms?
Well, I would say that it kind of depends on the program. I can't say it's always been a slam dunk across the board. Just as with any hire, you have some paraprofessionals who really excel and feel comfortable working in special education. And you have some who don't have, a background in special education and have a bit more of a challenge and might need a little bit more support. And that goes with, as I said, with any hire. I think the main positive impact, like I already had said several times, enabling us to be fully staffed. In one particular case, though, we had a paraprofessional who spoke a student's home language, and the student actually, expresses themselves more in that language than in English. And this is a student with extensive support needs. This is an extensive support needs program. And it actually proved invaluable that this paraprofessional was able to communicate with the student because they were able to share, what the student was saying in real time. And it really did help us to support the student, particularly when the student was feeling distressed and expressing those feelings of being distressed. That was something I just hadn't anticipated. And, when that happened, we already felt very positive in that program about what the GeoVision paraprofessionals were bringing. But in that particular moment, I was just over the moon, that we had found this other way to communicate with the student.
And I think that's something that we really don't think about, but they're bringing their home language just like they're bringing their culture. And I know that you have a very eclectic mix of students in your school, and bringing these people who do speak the students' languages and that they can relate to and look up to, I'm sure is always a boon, as well as the support that they can give academically. What do you think, besides this one student, is the student typical response to having these international trainees and interns in their class?
So I think this is a great question. And given, we're fairly early on in our partnership with GeoVisions, we actually haven't had a chance to survey students yet. So I think it would be a good idea for us to do so potentially. But like I said, it's not something we've done yet. So I don't have, data to share on students' perspective. I would only have anecdotal data from my observations, and my observations have been that it's been very positive. I think, students appreciate seeing themselves in the staff. One of our goals is to make sure that our staff reflects our student body. And, we think that that's one of the ways in which we can best support students. And so, I think that it's something that we could explore further and actually get student voice on, and I would like to do so. And I imagine there would be some positive response from the students.
I would love to see the outcome of those, because, we're from schools, we're data people. So it's always nice to have our feelings and our observations validated with data. What do you think about the lead teacher in the classroom, as all of these interns and trainees are in a classroom with a lead teacher and working closely with them, how have the reactions been from the lead teachers working with an international intern or trainee?
I'd say that's been somewhat variable. I think that for the most part, and again, this is more anecdotal. We haven't surveyed, all participating teachers, but I would say that I've heard a lot of positive feedback. Um, the thing is, special education is challenging, particularly in California. You know, it's not funded, to the amount that it should be, or federally as well. As we know, IDEA has never been, fully funded. And so, special education, we often feel like we're asked to do more with less. And so, in our district, it's important that we're really training and supporting our staff. So when I say it's been variable, I think, it's reflective more of the challenges in education today than of, these particular interns and trainees. But, there are some folks who come in and just, again, bring so much enthusiasm that it's infectious, and it sort of lifts the mood of the entire program. And I think that's where it's been really amazing. And I have had teachers just sing the praises of the experience in those cases.
Yes, I know what it's like to be in a classroom with a really positive person, and it does make a world of difference for the students and for the other adult in the classroom. What have you learned personally from having these international interns and trainees in your district? Because I know that you've worked closely with them.
Yeah, that's also a great question. Well, I think what I've learned is that it's important to take a risk sometimes and try something new, and cultural exchange, committing to paraprofessionals from overseas has been a risk that's paid off. I think, like I said, the enthusiasm of some of the participants has really given some of our programs a shot in the arm, and we're still, you know, feeling that bounce of that energy in those programs. So that's what I've learned is that kind of what you just said, actually, how attitudes can really impact, programs, and all staff members then sort of kind of rising to that, occasion of, okay, we're, you know, gonna also bring our best self to work, and we want to be positive too, and enjoy ourselves at work. And then the impact that can have on the students when the adults in the room, are feeling that way about their work. I think there's really innumerable benefits to that. So yeah, I think what I've learned personally is that one person can have a huge impact on a program, uh, positive impact on a program.
And that's something I know that research backs up, but if you've spent more than a week in a classroom, you know that student behavior is a reflection of the attitudes and behavior of the adults in the room. And so I can imagine that having that positive attitude and someone with a background in education who is not feeling like an outsider when they get in there really does have a positive impact on the students and the way that they're learning and the way that they're behaving. Do you see differences in training these interns and trainees from the general, or not participants, but candidates that you hire for these positions?
Um, for the most part, except for that early breakout session, so far, our GeoVision participants have had the same experience as any new hire, and they've participated in our, district-wide trainings. They've participated in site trainings. they participate in, weekly or, bi-monthly collaboration meetings with their team or, with the school. And it varies by site. And I think it's been good, that they have the same opportunities and participate in uh, the same routines as all other staff, because we want them to be integrated. Once they've hit the ground running, we're not talking about them as GeoVisions paraprofessionals. They're just paraprofessionals
Right.
in the program. But in terms of, preparing someone to work in special education who's never worked in special education before, I think that it's important to set clear expectations, and talk about what it means to support these students, ethically, and to make sure that, boundaries are respected, that, paraprofessionals are promoting, inclusive practices. And so we want to set high expectations that our GeoVisions paraprofessionals are, part of that same mission and vision of the department. And so we want to educate them on that early on. And I think that's sort of what we did at our welcome back last year. I think it would make sense for us to sort of bring more of that to all paraprofessionals. That's one thing that our district has discovered recently, is that this position, is often one where folks feel like they don't get enough support from the district. And so next year we're going to be working with someone from outside the district to, be on site and supporting our paraprofessionals and training them, including our GeoVision paraprofessionals who are pushing into general education classes. One of our goals is for our students to spend as much time in the general education setting as possible. And we support that through co-teaching, and we support that as well through, push and support from paraprofessionals. So many of our GeoVisions participants, they, as I said before, have particular academic skills and might be really strong in math or science, and that can be invaluable. And so allowing them to push in and support these general education classes, I think, is one strategy for sort of maximizing, what it is that they bring to bear. And then making sure that we're being mindful of having someone from the special education department to observe what's happening in those classrooms and troubleshoot and make sure that they're responding to any questions that the paraprofessionals have, so that it's not just all on the general education teacher's shoulders, or, sort of communication outside of the classroom to make sure that it's a good experience for the students.
No, it sounds like you are providing some incredible support for all of your paraprofessionals, including our international interns and trainees. So
That's our goal.
we appreciate everything that you do. With my background in education, my heart always lands with the students. And so keeping in mind that everything that you do for them and everything that they bring to the district is affecting the students in your care. And that's our main goal, is to make sure that they get the best opportunity possible. Is there any advice that you could give to another district that maybe hasn't started this program or hasn't thought about this program, in setting one up and getting it going?
Well, I have to say that our special education department is really lucky to have such a strong HR department, because our HR department did so much work last year to prepare our candidates, support our candidates. The thing to keep in mind is that, you may have folks landing at the airport calling the district and saying, okay, where do I go now? And, our HR department really rose to the occasion, supporting our, candidates, or our GeoVision participants, going to, Social Security office and, going through all of the steps of, paperwork and all the things they need to do. and GeoVisions was helpful as well. And I think we learned a lot from this first year. So the advice I would say is, just really over communicate with GeoVisions, make sure you understand, what to expect and what your charge is as a district with supporting, these folks who you're essentially sponsoring to come overseas and live here for a year. And I think it can feel like a big commitment. And I would say it's worth the risk if it feels like, I'm not sure if this is the right thing for our district, or all of the what ifs, what if it doesn't work out with this candidate? It's definitely worth the risk. I think with our district, we committed to a large number of GeoVisions interns, and that also really helped because we had, like I said, a cohort of folks
Right.
who could rely on each other as much as they're relying on the district for support. And so I would say if you can bring over a cohort of folks, I think that would be really great.
I did notice that when we were there in Jefferson Union, that they already had their WhatsApp group going and they had bonded, and that does give them a grounding, because you did gather them as a cohort and gave them that support so that they were able to really flourish in that environment. Is there anything?
Definitely.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about lessons learned or information?
Well, I was also just going to add on to that last answer that, another thing that we have, which not every district does, is staff housing. And that was also a huge benefit for us, was that we did have some staff housing available.
Right.
Several of our GeoVisions participants lived, together. And it's sort of funny, the other day, one of them referred to it as their dorm. And I guess that also just sort of speaks to the fun that they're having, meeting new people, and it does just feel like an exchange program that they're excited about. So
Well, I can tell that through the work and training that the district and the lead teachers have put in, and obviously the work of the interns and trainees themselves, that they are getting a valuable learning experience over and above anything that they brought to your district, so that they can go back and also enrich the lives of the students in their home countries. So thank you, Lee, so much for this discussion. I am always happy to see you and learn the wonderful things that are going on in your programs and in your district.
You bet. Absolutely. Thanks for this opportunity, Deborah. And we look forward to another year working with GeoVisions.
We look forward to another year working with you. Thank you.
Okay.